right, welcome back. We're live. It's Afternoons with Amos, the talk show record of our African-American community. Last night at the Walker Theater, about 270 people, because I counted them all, because I know the people at the Indianapolis Star, they can't count a crowd to save their lives. Many people from the community came out to see, many for the first time, and hear from Fred Wilson. And he was one of the many famous people that have had the privilege of being on the stage at the historic Walker Theater. However, for the people that were there last night, and even for the radio audience and the community listening, the folks at the Cultural Trail did Fred Wilson a disservice last night because they did not give him the proper Walker Theater introduction. How many times have you been to the Walker Theater and you've had outstanding famous people who have been introduced, so the people in the audience have some sense of what the person they're about to hear is all about? So in the house with me today, we have a young man that was born in the early 50s in the Bronx. That's New York, y'all. South Bronx, probably. He currently lives in New York, so he's a native New Yorker. And he considers himself a conceptual artist. That's somebody whose work takes existing art objects and cultural artifacts and portrays the underrepresented perspective of people of color. In fact, I talked to some people about what Fred Wilson did, and they tell me, Van, he could go to your attic, take stuff out of your attic, take stuff out of them storage boxes you got, put it all together, put it in a museum, and get paid. That's what Fred Wilson does. And he's such a genius at it, community, that in July of 1999, the MacArthur Foundation made him a MacArthur Fellow. Every year, the MacArthur Foundation selects individuals. You don't apply for it. They just suddenly send you a letter and said, "We the MacArthur Foundation, and you're a MacArthur Fellow." And you get a stipend, no strings attached, of $500,000. $500,000 to do what you want to do to help your work. So he is a MacArthur Fellow. He has received several honorary degrees, including one from my alma mater, Northwestern University. His work has been in numerous museums in this country and around the world. The only other time that he exhibited here in Indianapolis was in 1993. At the Indianapolis Museum of Art, back when the Museum of Art did not advertise what they did to the African American community, so nobody really knows who Fred Wilson is. They think he's the Fred Wilson who used to teach at Crispus Attucks, or the son of Fred Wilson. But we have MacArthur Fellow. He done spent the $500,000 because you have 5 years to do it, 99, so he's already run through that money. He is here, but more importantly, he is here because of a proposal that he has made to the Indianapolis Cultural Trail for a project called E Pluribus Unum that has a lot of people talking about it and a lot of people concerned. And what he says in his bio is that the type of thing that he does, his creative process involves conducting community outreach and research in the cities where he produces project. His practice raises questions and spurs dialogue about heated issues such as race in a smart and sensitive way. This dialogue can be both cathartic and revolutionary for his audience. So put your hands together, even those of you that don't want to put your hands together, and welcome to Indianapolis. It's the introduction he should have had last night, but he's getting here from Afternoons with Amos. Welcome, Brother Fred Wilson.
Thank you very much.
Now that's what you should have had last night on the stage of the historic. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you here.
Glad to be here.
Let's get to the meat of the matter. This design, you said last night that this design inspired you when you were here back in '93 and you were walking around downtown and you went to a monument that I think virtually all of us in Indianapolis, we see but we don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
You saw something there that we've kind of overlooked because we've kind of played it off. And you saw something, and you said last night that it kind of, and I'm going to paraphrase this, I don't think this was your exact words, it kind of burned in your soul.
That's right. I'm always looking at objects and images around the cities that I visit, and coming across the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, which you cannot miss, and looking at all the figurative, all the sculpture on it, all the individuals on it, and it's about various wars, but particularly the Civil War. I noticed that there was one African-American man on that monument representing the freedman, the freed so-called slave. And that is not unusual in cities around the United States, that kind of emancipation sculpture. However, my having walked around the city and been in different parts of the city, it was what was startling to me that this man was the only image of an African American man on a major sculpture or monument in the downtown area and other areas. I know there's a African American a statue of Martin Luther King in one community, but considering the size of the population and the number of monuments that Indianapolis has, I mean, it's only second to Washington, D.C. for monuments, that this image was the only one in the city.
How did you get wind that the Cultural Trail was looking for artists? Did they reach out to you?
Yes.
Did they reached out to you?
Yes.
After all these, and you hadn't really been here and exhibited here since '93, correct?
That's right.
What caused them to reach out to you?
Well, that's a good question for the trail folks, but I'm
why
not
do you
unknown.
think?
Well, I think they, I think they knew the work that I had done in the past, and thought I was a good candidate for this commission. I mean, that's what I imagine. I think it was, certainly some people really were galvanized by things that I had done in the past and thought, I could come up with something here.
When at the thing last night at the Walker, and you walked people through some of the work that you did, particularly some of the work that you did at the museum in Baltimore, I was struck by a certain sense of mischievousness, underground, revolutionary, and taking ordinary things to make a political statement. It was almost like I'm looking at this and, wait a minute, this guy does what I do on the radio, except he does it with stuff.
Exactly.
Is that what you are you a troublemaker? I'm trying to make troublemaker in a positive way. Are you an agent for change in art?
I like to say, that is the outcome often, but I don't go in saying I'm going to make change. Maybe I'm in denial about how I function. But I'm an artist, and what I do is I go into a given situation, museum or whatever, without any preconceived notions, and just absorb that place and see what happens. And I ask these questions through objects that maybe people ask just to themselves, but it's something about the doing that causes me to become an agent of change. But it's really open questions that I have that I just put out there.
A lot of people, when they hear the word artist,
they
think you're a painter, they think you're a sculptor, they think you do quilts. You're a different type of artist in that it's taking you could probably take all this paper and stuff and a couple of these television cameras here and make something out of this and get paid.
Sometimes get paid.
Sometimes get paid. Is this lucrative for you, or are you a struggling artist?
No longer, thankfully, because I do a number of things. I make artworks in my studio in Manhattan, in Brooklyn. And I do these projects with museums. Of course, I lecture. And every once in a while I do a public artwork. So it's sort of cobbling together all these different ways of supporting myself.